Hello everybody and welcome back to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler and this week we are playing a bit of a brew. That's right, we are playing Arclight Phoenix in Modern along with the Runaway Steamkin. All the Guilds of Ravnica here. This deck has put up some 5-0s over the past couple weeks. I believe we're calling it Runaway Red. I don't know if we have a official name for it yet, but I will certainly, when I'm at the Modern Grand Prix in Atlanta next week, try to name it that. All right, so gonna bottom this Arclight Phoenix here to start. You can catch the deck tech, I believe, at the end of these videos here if you want to see it. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into the games right away. Our opponent's on the draw, or on the play rather, with a mountain of their own. Okay, so we really need to hit a land, but if we do that, honestly, we're gonna be in an okay spot. Looks like we're gonna get burned by our opponent. Sure. All right, so let's see what we can do. If we hit land, we're obviously just in a racing situation here. There's our land. That's a good start. So it remains to be seen whether we just end up throwing this lightning bolt at our opponent's face or if they give us a creature to point it at. But honestly, I'm not opposed to throwing it at the face. That's for sure. We really just want to, kind of go off with this Runaway Steamkin next turn. That's the goal here. We would be able to Desperate Ritual into something if we wanted. It looks like I'll probably just be hitting this Swift Spear. I believe that lightning bolting this will prevent much more damage than it would deal over the course of this game. Alright, here comes the burn spell. Sure, that's fine. We will fire off a burn spell of our own. Alright, so our opponent's down to 3 cards in hand. I guess that's pretty good for us. We're at 14 life. Could be better, could be worse. A Fiery Temper there's not exactly what I was hoping to draw. I mean, heck, I can make 3 mana with Runaway Steamkin and play it, but it's not exactly what we were hoping for there. Alright, we're going to play our Runaway Steamkin and hope that it resolves. Or it's certainly going to resolve. Hope that it lives. Hope I get to live to untap with the Runaway Steamkin. That would be the dream here. And if we hit land, or I guess another ritual, we can get our Arclight Phoenix into play. Our hand's a little awkward here, and that I suppose that can happen with this deck, but the power level is pretty strong as well. So our opponent has suspended a Rift Bolt. And Boros charmed us down to 10. Okay, well, looks like we are going to tap with our Steamkin. Let's see what we can do with it. Bedlam Reveler, huh? Well, that could be good here in a little bit, actually. If we get enough time. We're down to 7 on our opponent's turn here. On their when they unsuspend their Rift Bolt, but it looks like I'm just gonna go ahead and fire off a ritual. I guess a ritual into a Fiery Temper just solely because I want counters on this to attack for more, and I just really need to build up this Bedlam Reveler. So Bedlam Reveler is a really nice, honestly, a nice piece to this puzzle that is this sort of this runaway red deck here, where we can just continue to just pile on the value here. So we're gonna attack for 3. Our opponent, literally, yeah, we evened it up. Our opponent's down to 10. Although we are going to fall to 7 here off the Rift Bolt, unless, of course, they choose to fire it at us, which would not surprise me. If they fire it off at our Steamkin instead of us. Nope. All right, they have a plan. We're down to 7. That said, with the right, okay, Lava Man, okay, with the right draw, we might actually be able to win this turn, maybe. Let's see what we hit here. Ooh, Bedlam Reveler was not that. In fact, Bedlam Reveler was terrible. That was one of the worst possible draws. One of the extraordinarily few bad draws in our deck. I think it was just the Phoenixes and just the Revelers, because I can't play the Revelers. I can actually cast 0 cards in my hand here, which means all I can do is attack for 3. If I just could cast 1 card, I could then unlock another card with the Runaway Steamkin here, but I think if we had hit something on that turn, we might have been a favorite to win, but as it stands, that was sort of an unmitigated disaster for us, that Bedlam Reveler draw step right there. Wow, our opponent blocking with the Lavamancer here, huh? And they were scared. I guess we have that going for us. That actually goes a long way, I think, towards giving us a chance to win the game. Well, they do have another Boros Charm to get us down to 3, so it makes sense on their part. That Lavamancer doesn't necessarily change things. They can't suspect that we have an unplayable hand. All right, here we go. This has been interesting, pseudo mirror here. And they top deck the burn spell to kill us. So, all right. Lightning Helix pretty good against us, by the way. We, of course, being a mono red deck here. All right, onto the sideboard, though. I've got some stuff I like, namely Dragon's Claw. Yes, please. All right, so Dragon's Claw. Honestly, I think it's the only thing we want. Cut the Revelers. They're pretty slow. They're great to refill, but pretty slow. Gonna cut a risk factor. I think go down to 2. Cut shot kills Lava Man. I guess that's something it's got going for it. I don't know if you're ever supposed to cut Phoenixes. Probably not. I'm gonna cut gut shots. I'm actually gonna get one of the risk factors back in here, I suppose. There we go. I actually love a lot of what this deck has going on for it. It's got the rituals to give spells to your Runaway Steamkin, but also accelerate you into an Arclight Phoenix or whatever, or just a Temper or a Reveler. The Manamorphoses, the rituals, that all helps the Reveler plan. It also helps the Runaway Steamkin plan. You know what? The Runaway Steamkin plan helps the Reveler plan. The whole deck kind of works together, and Fiery Temper triggers off of so many things, including, as you see here, our Faithless Looting, but also even the jump start of Risk Factor. It's pretty sweet overall. So, all right, this is an interesting hand. Looks like I will probably just be Lava Spiking my opponent on turn 1, and then trying to draw a land on turn 2. We'll see what we can do here. This hand has everything it needs if it hits a land, so... Excuse me. That said, I don't necessarily want to immediately fire off the Faithless Looting. I just want to Lava Spike my opponent, to be honest. I could splice it. I have a splice spell in my hand. That's actually worth considering if we get to 3 mana. Almost makes me want to hold the Lava Spike and just play the Faithless Looting. We could discard the Risk Factor easily enough. The problem is, I really just need to hit the land drop next turn, and since I have 1 mana spells, we get a card deeper in terms of our selection by looting on the next turn, I believe. So, I think it's fine to just fire off the Lava Spike there, although it is worth noting that you can splice Desperate Ritual onto it. I can't say that's ever come up for me before. I'm not exactly a caster of Lava Spikes or Desperate Rituals, but it's pretty cool we can do it in the same deck here. All right, so yeah, our opponent's going to come in for 1. That's fine. I would love to Faithless Loot into a land and then just Lightning Bolt down the Swift Spear. Oh, we're just going to hit our land. That makes it even easier. All right, so going to play a land, and I guess at this point I just loot because we can sculpt our hand. We get a free discard, quote-unquote free discard in the form of the Risk Factor here. But also if we draw a Fiery Temper, I can Madness it. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw the looting. All right, no such luck, but I guess Risk Factor and Arclight Phoenix are pretty good ones to discard. I wonder... I don't think I can do it. It's so tempting to hold this Lightning Bolt until we have a Runaway Steamkin in play, but not worth it, ultimately. Now, our opponent might have burned themselves. Our life total is still nice and high here, heading into our 3rd turn, which isn't bad. Lava Spike, huh? So we actually had 1 more mana we could do this. All right. Just going to play the Steamkin here. I think that's definitely correct. Probably going to die. I have to imagine it's going to get killed in one way or another. Is our opponent going to shock themselves? Oh, that's too bad. I suppose that is the problem with our deck compared to a traditional burn deck. We haven't drawn any of our sideboard pieces, but some of our cards, like say this Desperate Ritual, get a lot worse without Runaway Steamkin there to work. All right, so get our Arclight Phoenix back. So we need to cast 3 more instant or sorcery spells this turn. So I think if we hit a land, we might actually be able to do it, although this isn't great for us. But I think if we find land, we could play Lava Spike, splice Ritual onto it, play Ritual, play Tormenting Voice, or we wouldn't have a card to discard. We might. All right, so is the problem here really going to be that I don't have a card to discard Tormenting Voice? Is that what's going to get us? Yeah, so I could spike, splice. Maybe if okay. If I spike, splice this onto it, at that point I've only cast 1 spell at that point I'd have to discard. So there's actually sort of nothing that gets us there here. That's unfortunate. I could also just Risk Factor, discarding the Ritual. That would deal our opponent 4 damage. This is a hard choice. And of course, the Eidolon the Great Revel is going to make things a little odd anyways. So I think maybe Risk Factor is just our best call here. It's probably the most mana efficient thing we can do. There's not a lot of value to casting the Desperate Ritual now that it was just so close. If we had one more card in hand, this actually would have worked. We could have spiked, spliced the Ritual onto it. That would have been one spell cast. We could have then had 3 mana, cast the Ritual, gone up to 4 mana. That's 2 spells, discard a card, Tormenting Voice, get our Phoenix back, go down to 2 mana, draw 2 cards. So not quite going to work out that way for us. Means we don't have the additional cost. Discarding a card, Tormenting Voice. Then again, maybe my opponent's just going to give me cards off of a Risk Factor here. I don't know. I like that we're at 19 life right now. I don't like that our opponent has a million cards in Eidolon of the Great Revel, and we are struggling to even put together a way to deal our opponent much damage with them sitting at 15 here. I mean, this Risk Factor, in all honesty, is just going to deal us 2 and them 4, I think, and I'm not convinced that that's great for us. Our deck can definitely combo off, and I mean, heck, I have to play it. That's what Mighty Modern is for. If not for weird, bad combo decks, what would we play? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and officially commit to this, pitching the Desperate Ritual. We have 3 mana now. Let's see what our opponent chooses to do with Risk Factor. They're almost definitely just going to take the damage. For what it's worth, we do still have a Faithless Looting in our graveyard. Maybe they're considering giving us 3 cards. They're certainly thinking about it. That'd be nice, I guess. Oh, they just took the damage. That makes more sense. Oh my gosh. Alright, look at that. A Dragon's Claw. That's what we wanted right there. I will gladly take the damage off the Eidolon of the Great Revel. This is the kind of thing we need to actually get back in this game. That said, are we going to get skull cracked in response here? That would be unfortunate. Oh, we're going to get Helixed in response. Oh, Boros Charm. Okay, sure. I'm not convinced we're going to win this game. At all. I do think I need to do this now. I don't know. I mean, we're at 8 life. Our opponent's now at 6 life. The problem is they have a creature. So just putting us down to 6 with the creature, and with so many cards in their hand, I'm going to be honest, I actually don't even know if the Dragon Claw is going to be enough. It's not like we have ways to deal any damage to them right now. And even to draw more cards, I mean, honestly, we just need to top deck burn spells. We just need to top deck bolts here. If not, I actually don't know if we're going to find a way to win this game. Because this puts us on a clock that is not affected by our Dragon's Claw. Risk Factor is pretty nice, actually. Well, I guess I should play it? My opponent's probably going to give me the cards, right? I think they're going to give me the cards here. So I may as well play it now so I can hit my land drop. And possibly the bolt to finish them off for what it's... Well, it wouldn't finish them off. I think they're giving us cards. It is nice that the Dragon's Claw is... This game's just so weird because the Dragon's Claw, our Dragon's Claw, is making their burn spells worse. Oh, Lightning Helix is pretty good here. And the... Are we just dead? I'm going to gain 2, go to 8, take 3, 5. I think we might just be dead. Like I said, just having a creature in play is just so valuable here. And they're gonna go to 3. They can give us cards. Wow. Well, that's certainly a bunch of land. I guess we're dead. Just having a creature was too good. I can't beat it. I mean, there's Lightning Helixes and life gain and Eidolons is just too much. They're better. Dragon's Claw on turn 2 might have done it, but our opponent, you combine the fact that our hand was basically 1 card away from sort of comboing off, and our opponent having basically the perfect draw and just having 2 lands and all lightning helixes. Not to mention a creature that is very good. I don't really think we ever had a chance here. Anyways, it was a good match. So our deck was sweet. We gotta have some fun with the risk factor. Our opponent just they had a better, it might have been better set up for the pseudo mirror here, even if we had a little more, you know, quote unquote combo potential. So, anyways, that was a good match. Thank you for watching, everybody. Hey everybody, welcome back. Here we go with some more of this. Our opponent's leading on Mishra's Bauble here. I don't know exactly what that means. Our hand seems pretty decent. To be honest, we've got a Bedlam Reveler here. We've got a Phoenix we can pitch. We've got a Risk Factor, Manamorphose. Definitely seems like we can probably craft a hand that gets back Arclight Phoenix in this game. Now, that said, I have no clue what our opponent's up to. Maybe we'll get an idea off their land here. Blood Crypt, huh? I don't know. They did shock themselves, so we're going to get Thoughtseize, huh? Maybe they'll choose our Risk Factor. What do you think? No, if I had to guess, this is going to be our Bedlam Reveler hitting the bin. That said, Thoughtseize and our Bedlam Reveler is obviously a strong play. But, you know, oh, they took a Faithless Looting. Okay. I can handle that. I don't know what their deck is exactly here. Well, that's a Fiery Temper. A little awkward here. We still have to Faithless Looting just because we need the lands, so... just going to have to do it even though we're not really going to get any value off this Temper this time around. Oh, well. Alright, that's pretty rough. Maybe we won't get a chance to play at all. Yeah, I mean, we get to go 11 cards deep. I feel like double Faithless Looting on the draw, it's just absolutely impossible to mulligan that hand. So... our opponent took an extremely risky line, to be honest, Thoughtseizing our Faithless Looting, but if we don't hit a land, they might just get paid off for it, and we might not get a play, which would be unfortunate. Our opponent running out a looting of their own here, so, like I said, it's a little confused. Maybe I should know. Thoughtseize, looting, pitching lands, Bauble, like Grixis Death Shadow, I suppose, is a possibility. These are in here for, I don't actually know. I mean, you used to see these in a lot. You used to see Baubles in a lot of the Death Shadow decks because they were also Goyf decks, etc., and Delirium for Traverse, but I'm not sure that's what's going on here. But our opponent is certainly shocking themselves like they're playing a Death Shadow deck. Let's see what they do with this Watery Grave. Here comes the 1/1 Death Shadow. Oh, they've got the Angler. Nope, just the 1 mana 5/5 on turn 2 after turn 1 Thoughtseize. The fairest magic you can play. Alright, come on. Give me a land, deck. Let's see what we can do here. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you just don't get a play. Sometimes RNG is not on your side. Sometimes your opponent has a Thoughtseize and a turn 2 1 mana 5/5 and you don't get a play. Magic. That said, I still think our opponent's done themselves a lot of damage, so if we can hit land on our next turn, we actually get a, you know, we get a cycle with the Manamorphose, which would put 4 instants and sorceries into our graveyard, which would make this cost 4. So we're making progress, I suppose. And there is the Death Shadow. All right. Looks like we won't be playing Magic here. Let's give it one more turn. Our opponent didn't have a land drop either. If it says a 1/1, maybe we get one more turn. I can go land, Manamorphose, Desperate Ritual, something. Get back my Arclight Phoenix. I think we're just too far behind, but we'll see. Our opponent's attacking with a 1/1 Death Shadow. Could be worse. Of course, the 1 mana 5/5 is still killing us. Okay, just kidding. Alright, so we're taking 8 here, so we're just dead next turn. I guess if hit a bolt, we can try to lightning bolt this thing for the moment. Oh, they have another. Alright, the 4th Bedlam Reveler. That's the only possible way this game could end. Thanks, Magic Online. On to game 2 against Grixis Death Shadow here. Alright, this seems like a match where we want Shrine of Burning Rage, to be honest. They kill us pretty slowly. And Shrine of Burning Rage, pretty good at just one-shotting them. Alright. Braid, not going to do much against Death Shadow or Gurmag Anglers. Molten Rain, not very good against 1-mana threats. Relic is reasonable. I mean, it's certainly not a bad card. These gut shots don't seem great. The gut shots are fun when you run away Steamkin with them, right? The combo potential is there. I just don't know if it's worth boarding it in. Because the thing with the stupid Gurmag Anglers is they come down so fast, you're not going to want to pop this on turn 2, and it's not really the battle you want to be fighting, I think, all right? You just let them have it, and you just try to kill them through it. Shrine of Burning Rage will give us a shot here, and we'll see if we can just kind of have a good hand of our own. We get to be on the play this time. Get an unplayable hand. We're going to mulligan. All right, well, we've got a Runaway Steamkin, everybody. We did it. That's this hand can make some hay, as they say, with this Runaway Steamkin. Honestly, it kind of makes me want to hold the Lava Spike. If our opponent has the discard spell on turn 1, they're almost certainly going to use it on the Runaway Steamkin. Same with removal, and I don't think that running out Spike on turn 1 is going to be the difference in this game or not. So we may as well hold it to power up. I guess not our Runaway Steamkin, because here comes the Thoughtseize, but maybe an Arclight Phoenix or something in a little bit. I feel like our deck has a lot of power. I mean, Grixis Death Shadow is possibly my least favorite matchup in Modern, no matter what deck I'm playing. So we'll see if we're able to get through it here. I do think I probably have to fire off the Mana Morphos just to try to find a threat here. Oh, okay. Well, Mana Screw to Mana Flood is certainly possible in Magic. Alright, so our opponent's at 16. We have all of 2 spells and only one of them deals damage. But good news is we're going to be able to play... joke's on you, buddy. All of our cards are bad. I mean, this is essentially... They took the Ritual. That was essentially just... They just turned our Ritual into a shock and left us with a Lava Spike. I guess I will take it. All right, now we'll spike them for real. All right, so this puts 3 instants or sorceries into our graveyard, meaning this thing, instead of costing 8, is going to cost 5. Unfortunately, our last card is a land, which is only our 4th land, so we won't be casting Bedlam Reveler next turn. Our opponent starts the Death Shadows. All right, there's a Shrine of Burning Rage. That is pretty good, actually. All depending on what we draw, of course. Now, we still can't cast Bedlam Reveler. I swear Bedlam Reveler is good in this deck. I know it's looked really bad in these 2 games. We drew all 4 of them in the first one, obviously. But the card is very good. And it's theoretically not that hard to fill our graveyard up. This Shrine of Burning Rage... Oh! Alright, Inquisition of Kozilek. That's a whiff. Our opponent mulligan too. Okay, so... I guess Gut Shot... I don't know if I boarded out both. I think I boarded both of them out, but I would say Gut Shot would be the card that would allow us to actually play this. Do I try to Lightning Bolt the Death Shadow? That's the question, everybody. So that would give us 4, which means we can cast our Bedlam Reveler next turn. All right, this is looking up a little bit. I think that I'm going to Lightning Bolt my opponent, but I'm not sure. I just don't want to die to this Death Shadow, because Shrine of Burning Rage will win the long game. And I'm also leery to bolt the Death Shadow for what it's worth, but I'm not going to block here. So I think if they have the Shriek Wraith, they're probably just going to fire it off. And they don't, which means I can probably just safely Lightning Bolt in the end step. I'm going to try. I'm going to Lightning Bolt the Death Shadow. It's not very often that this play actually works, but we get value on the Shrine of Burning Rage if nothing else. And maybe it will. Hey, look at that. We actually did it. Okay. Well, that was great. That was unexpectedly nice here in Game 2. So we might actually get there. Just that sequence of draws we had was honestly very good. Now we get to play Bedlam Reveler. No hand to discard. Draw 3. Shrine of Burning Rage up to 4 counters. So this looks pretty good here. Lightning Bolt and a risk factor. I like it. So we might just have this game next turn. We can bolt our opponent down to 8. Our Shrine of Burning Rage. Yeah, we should just have things locked up. Even if this is a dismember on our Bedlam Reveler. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we just have it. I mean, Lightning Bolt our opponent down to 6. That puts 5 counters on the shrine, untap, go to 6 counters on the shrine, kill our opponent. So there you go. Death Shadow does damage to itself, and Shrine of Burning Rage is a house. It's not just, I mean, it's going to deal 6 damage, which is already great. I mean, but it's a long-term investment to do that. It's just the threat of it in the matchup is just so good against what our opponent has going on. So, all right, Shrine of Burning Rage up to 5. This is just the, okay, well, I guess it's not just the game because our opponent has Stubborn Denial. They were actually able to get us there. Sure, that's fine. Another land, huh? All right, let's risk factor our opponent. They're going to have to let this one draw us cards, so we can just hit another Lightning Bolt and win. This is 2 to sacrifice. Oh, it's 3 to sacrifice, so we can't actually win quite yet. I can just pass the turn, though. Game's so pretty clearly over. I think, anyways. We get stifled or something, trick-binded against our Shrine of Burning Rage, but probably just going to... let's see what our opponent does. All right, there comes the Gurmag Angler. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and risk factor here. We just untap and we have lethal in the Shrine of Burning Rage. I don't think there's a 1-mana blue spell. Still Sabotage maybe would get it, but there we go. We did it. We took game 2. Now on to game 3. Oh, we do have a gut shot in there. We still have the ability to do it. This is not very good, right? I think I actually want this other risk factor. The problem, of course, with the risk factors are we don't want to overload our deck. We're only playing 18 lands, right? We don't want to overload our deck too hard on 3 mana plus spells, but it is very good in the matchup. All right, I got to keep this. This hand looks pretty reasonable. Faithless Looting, Lava Spike, Lightning Bolt. That's some early spells, and should be able to fill our graveyard up one way or another here for these Bedlam Revelers. See if our opponent has discard again. They do! Turn 1 Thoughtseize, 3rd game in a row. This is fine, though. It's not the end of the world. I mean, we're going to have to hit a land or something along the way here, but it's not the end of the world with 2 Bedlam Revelers in our hand to have spells put into our graveyard. Yeah, look at that. We did it anyways. All right, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and loot. Gosh. Okay. What's the other discard here? I don't want to pitch the other, but I want to keep 2 Bedlam Revelers in my hand. Maybe that's greedy though. Maybe it's greedy to keep 2 Bedlam Revelers. Our opponent has to have another Thoughtseize. I don't know. Maybe I should have thrown away the land, but I think just having access to 3 lands so we can loot if everything goes sideways is pretty valuable. Not exactly stocking our graveyard for our Bedlam Reveler, but we will. We'll just do it slowly. And if our opponent does find a Thoughtseize to get it, well, they find a Thoughtseize to get it. Hopefully we can still find some action another way. But that said, if I do get to just untap, Lava Spike my opponent, Lightning Bolt my opponent, that puts him down to, 9 or more. I mean, basically, if we avoid some Death Shadows here, we could be okay. That would put us up to 4 in our graveyard, making this thing cost 4, which is only 1 away from where we are. So, looking at, possibly a turn, maybe a turn 4 Bedlam Reveler here, but this looks like it's okay. Runaway Seamkin is nice. I'm going to play it. I don't know if our opponent's going to have an answer to it or not, if we're just going to turn on Fatal Push or whatever, but the upside to Runaway Seamkin is just far too high. We're playing a deck called Runaway Red. Way too much upside to this card staying in play if we do somehow get a 1-tap with it. Yeah, let's see. It looks like we might be getting dismembered. Or our opponent's just shocking themselves because they're playing Death Shadows. And they're thinking about it. Looks like we're going to... Yep, they do have the Fatal Push for the Runaway Seamkin. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world. Our opponent got a little bit better of us in the mana, but, a turn that we kind of more or less trade, but we get to hit a land drop, kind of works to our favor here with this Bedlam Reveler game. Plus, our opponent is still just burning themselves down on life. I would love to see anything but a Death Shadow right here. Show me a Gurmag Angler. I think I could probably beat that. I don't think I could beat Death Shadow, though. All right, this is a big play. Let's see what they have here. With the Serum Visions, they went one top and one bottom. They're paying cost. They do have the Death Shadow, of course. Maybe we'll get a chance to Lightning Bolt it. Maybe we will. Maybe my opponent... Oh, this is very interesting. If my opponent does too much damage to themselves, we're just going to bolt them to death. I don't want to do it now, though, because I don't have it, right? I have 1. I just have 2 in there. I can get up to 5, making this thing cost 3, which we could play. But I actually think I might be able to kill the Death Shadow and then just sort of, you know, be comfortable in the fact we have nice tools. So I'm just going to go ahead and move to the instep here and see what my opponent does. It's also possible they could end up lightning bolting themselves to save their Death Shadow or something. A lot of weird stuff can happen. Then again, if I let them untap, we're not getting too punished by Stubborn Denial as it currently stands. So we get a lot of information from their attack step, I think. So I think it's worth letting this go through here. And there's the Gurmag Angler. Okay. So I need to respond to this so that we don't get Stubborn Denialed. All right, it worked. I'm all about that life, as a matter of fact. Oh, if our opponent had played their shock lane first, or their fetch lane first, we would have got him. All right, I'm lightning bolting them now. They didn't play Death Shadow. I'm off to the races. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This makes 5. Our opponent's on to 6. I can play this now. Yep. They can't Stubborn Denial this. They only have 2 cards in hand. We're going to get to draw 3 if it resolves. And our opponent's at a very real risk of just dying next turn. Those are pretty good. Okay, we might be able to take out Grixis Death Shadow here. This shock land, this fetch land they have is kind of a liability. Maybe not entirely, but their attacks are very awkward. They need removal for the Bedlam Reveler. I can't believe we got a Lightning Bolt Death Shadow twice. 2 games in a row we Lightning Bolted Death Shadow. That almost never happens. Excuse me. All right, so here we go. I have a lot of choices here. I'm not going to mess around with the Runaway Steamkin, though. I'm just going to go ahead and Lava Spike my opponent. Trigger Prowess on our Bedlam Reveler. They're going to Stubborn Denial the Lava Spike. Okay, that's fine. That I am perfectly okay with our opponent burning Stubborn Denial there. Now I'm going to attack. If my opponent goes to block, which they basically have to, I cast Risk Factor. Whether they take the damage or give us the cards, our Bedlam Reveler becomes a 5/6 that is larger than the Gurmag Angler. So we should win this combat. And I don't know. I don't know if our opponent's supposed to take 4 damage or give us cards. It's not good for them either way. So, yeah, I had to decide whether or not to strain the Steamkin in my hand. They're going to give our Gurmag Angler double strike. That's hilarious. Okay. I feel pretty good about this game now. What are they going to do with the Risk Factor? They can take the damage or give us cards. I think they have to take the damage. No, they give us the cards. Alright, so Gurmag Angler has double strike, but they don't have enough. It's still going to trade with our Bedlam Reveler. Sure. It has trample. That's not going to get it done. All right. There we go. I'm looking good, everybody. Our opponent is down to 6 life, 2 cards in hand. Oh, no, a Death Shadow. Can we kill him? All right, that's a question. Can we kill our opponent here? We do not have Arclight Phoenix in our graveyard, I believe. We do not. This is the one thing our opponent could kill us with. Is a Teamer Battle Rage. I'm 1 mana off of just Phoenixing and Tempering. I could go Steamkin, Phoenix, plan to block with the Steamkin. Or plan to block with the Phoenix. I think that's an interesting line, but one that might be correct. And then next turn, we could hope to bring the Phoenix back, or if my opponent doesn't do anything threatening, just kill them. Or I can play Steamkin with the plan to risk factor pitching Fiery Temper. Because I would have... I mean, yeah, that would work in the end step. And then we untap with almost definitely enough gas to kill our opponent. It just means that I don't know that there's a way. I guess our opponent, if they have... it's going to come down to whether or not we think they have another Temur Battle Rage in their hand. The fact that they fired that one off doesn't bode well for me necessarily. I don't know. Maybe I punted this game somewhere along the line. I mean, it would take a pretty ridiculous series of top decks for our opponent to get us from this position, but it's certainly possible. So we just have to decide how we can play around Temur Battle Rage. And I think the way to do that is to keep up an instant speed Lightning Bolt. So if our opponent does take 3 to put themselves to 2-3 to make this a 10-10, making Temur Battle Rage lethal, that we can kill them in response. So, we have 6 mana, and we actually have 2 risk factors on our graveyard, or just one? Just one. Yeah, I'm just gonna play Steamkin here. So I have the option to block with it if I really wanted. But I think keeping up this Fiery Temper, and it's even better than that, it's actually risk factor with the Fiery Temper value, which we'll be casting 2 spells for, Runaway Steamkin for what it's worth. So if nothing else, we can just block enough damage to not die. Oh, they just have a Lightning Bolt for it. Well, that means they have to top deck Temur Battle Rage now, and they should die to that regardless. So, okay, I think we're probably going to get there. A little tighter at the end than maybe we wanted, but our opponent can put themselves down to 3, so they could top deck Temur Battle Rage to have lethal 10-10 Double Striker, but that they'd still just die to his Fiery Temper in our hand. So this should take care of things. I guess there's also a world in which we we take 7 here, go to 13. Our opponent's trying to figure out whether they should... okay. I mean, I obviously have to take it, but there's a world in which we take it. Oh, what are they going to do? Are they going to shock themselves to make it 10? How sick would it be if their last card was Stubborn Denial? No, it would be pretty ridiculous for us to lose. Here, I think what would have to happen is... if I go for this... Oh, they're just going to... Okay, they're just going to do it. Did they draw Temur Battle Rage? That would be really sick on their part. Oh my gosh, they did! They top decked what would be the win! It would have been enough! That's crazy. Good for them. That would have been such an exciting game from their part, and I don't blame them for going for it, but we get to punish them with the hard cast Fiery Temper. What a game! That was a lot of fun. There you go, everybody. Runaway Red running away with that one against Grixis Death Shadow. Despite not even getting to play game 1. That was sweet. That's why we play these decks. Thank you for watching, everybody. Hey, everybody. Here we go with some more Runaway Red. Our opponent leading on Black Cleave Cliffs Inquisition. That's Jund if I've ever seen it. We'll see, anyways, if it's Jund. Alright, so I assume they're going to take our Tormenting Voice, but it's hard to say. Because I would love to Tormenting Voice away this Arclight Phoenix on turn 2 and draw 2. And I think, assuming our opponent is on Jund, that is the thing they probably least want us to have. It's just the card advantage engine. Yep, and there it goes. So, that's fine. I mean, that's good for them. It's fine, though. There's a land for us, so might as well start the train now. Lava Spike our opponent here. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not, actually. Maybe not. Maybe with this ritual in our hand, that actually changes. Because the thing is, we actually have the cards to bring this Arclight Phoenix back from our graveyard. This hand was actually going to set up kind of nicely. We'll see what our opponent follows up with here. You know, maybe a world happens where they, you know, Inquisition us again. I guess not. All right. Fiery Temper. I wish I had a discard outlet. I wish I had this Tormenting Voice. I'm going to play the Manamorphose here. I think we need to try to do something on this turn before we get Liliana next turn. Instead, we're going to do actual nothing. I mean, I could Ritual into Fiery Temper. That doesn't seem... Something tells me that doesn't seem very good. I mean, I think it was worth it. We could hit a 2-drop. We could hit a lot of things we could have played. But we'll see. Here comes... If it's Liliana, that's not great. It is, of course, Liliana. You know what? Maybe it is great. Maybe I just want them to do this. This is my discard outlet. I mean, it's kind of not the discard outlet I wanted, but maybe it's a discard outlet I deserve. Okay. Arclight Phoenix, get out of here. Well, I think this is actually going to work. All right, watch this. Check this. This is going to be awesome. We're going to flood out real hard while we're doing it, which might kill us regardless. But look, I can Lava Spike, splice the Desperate Ritual onto it, pay for this. That's going to give us 3 mana when Lava Spike resolves here. This is going to be a cool turn. I don't know if it's going to be enough to win, but it's going to be cool. Alright, we Lava Spike. We have 3 mana. Now we cast the Ritual. I mean, we're getting a cool turn. I don't know if that cool turn is going to be enough to win. That's the problem. And now I Fiery Temper. I guess this is the worst. This is the bad part. Is I have to Fiery Temper the Liliana and then Arclight Phoenix it to get it off the board, and that doesn't feel great for us. But the alternative is just possibly never answering Liliana. But hey, we're gonna have Arclight Phoenix, so that's pretty neat. We did it. Achievement unlocked. It doesn't matter if we win or lose. We did it. Trust me, it's almost tempting to let that thing survive, but spending, we only spent 1 card on it, but the reality is we spent so many cards to get that Arclight Phoenix back. Our opponent's at 17, they have 4 cards in hand. I mean, we're probably just dead here. They have another one to make us sacrifice it, and we flood it out as hard as we possibly can in our 18-land deck. So, maybe we'll just loop 3 Manamorphoses together and get it back. What do you think? Ah, haha! You're not getting very far with that Inquisition, are you? Alright, Bedlam Reveler I take. Lava Spike, huh? Okay, well, spike our opponent. Nothing in our graveyard we can do. To be honest, I don't know that our deck's even bad against Liliana. That's the thing. We have all these cards that want to be in our graveyard. We have a lot of cards that work well to refill. I mean, we have 4 Bedlam Revelers that are just insane top decks. We have Faithless Lootings that help us get, some amount of the way there. We have risk factors that work from our graveyard. We have a lot going on for us against Jund, against these Lilianas, but I think what we didn't have going for us this game is that we drew none of the graveyard cards, except for the one Arclight Phoenix, which we got value out of, but I don't know if it was worth the cost, and the 5 lands on top of that, not so great. So our opponent's going to deal 2 damage to us and make us discard. Sure. And now they can plus their Liliana. Oh, we've got some time. We're both top decking. Show me Bedlam Reveler. Show me Lava Spike, huh? Alright. Put him down to 9, I guess. The problem now is, yeah, there's a lot going on. Our opponent gets to Raging Ravine us here. All they have to do is just probably plus Liliana for the rest of the game, and Raging Ravine us. It gets pretty ugly. They can Liliana away Bedlam Reveler, although... Oh, wow. I don't know about that one. That actually... I think playing Dark Confidant might be able to help us win. I mean, Liliana can sacrifice the Dark Confidant. This is target player sacrifices a creature, but I don't know. I'm going to cast this Manamorphose, though. Maybe this is the start. Maybe we're going to loop together 3 spells here somehow. Runaway Steamkin. You know what? I will take anything that actually impacts the battlefield a little bit. That that makes our opponent either care about, well, you never, if Dark Confidant's being that is going to be kind to them and feed them lands off the top, maybe we're just dead anyways. I would love to see a risk factor. Alright, so they use a Leon to make a sacrifice a creature. That means we have another turn in which Bedlam Reveler is actually a good draw. The problem is I think we're just dead in 2 turns. Our opponent attacks us, fires up the Ravine, attacks us for 6 here. Next turn they attack us for 7, so that's 13. So we have this turn, I think, to draw something relevant. We've seen 15 cards. I mean, we've certainly had some chances here. I don't think Fiery Temper is going to be good enough. I think the only line is to hope that our opponent has a bad flip-off Confidant here. Fiery Temper them when Liliana pluses. And they had a Fatal Push. Okay. Well, we might have a shot here. I definitely think I have to go with them with the Temper. Because the thing is, we could kill this. We still die to the Raging Ravine in 2 turns. This actually gives us a way to win. It depends what our opponent's last card is. But we have a very real chance to win if they just attack us for 7 here, put us down to 5, and then they, if we can hit a burn spell, we put our opponent down to 2, hopefully, and then they could die off their Confidant trigger. Assuming their last card isn't a removal spell on their own Confidant. So we at least gave ourselves some outs, which is really all you can do in a situation like this. So fingers crossed. Here we go. Risk factor is not what I wanted. I mean, our opponent's probably going to give us the cards. But that leaves us in the same boat where we have 3 shots to hit a lightning bolt. Alright, let's loot. Maybe we'll get our Arclight Phoenix back. That would work if we can loot into something that we can cast. Unfortunately, I loot into 2 lands instead. Just not very lucky tonight. Just could not catch any breaks at all. And nothing we could do. Oh, that's too bad. Let's see if they flip a 5 off their Dawn Confidant. That is really rough to see 3, 4, 5 cards this turn. Oh, and not hit a lightning bolt effect. To at least give ourselves a chance to win. It wouldn't matter if they hit a Thoughtseize off of it. Okay, well, on to game 2. That was at least a good match for sure. That was fun. So the thing is, I actually think Molten Rain on the play especially is pretty good here. I'm going to cut a couple of the rituals. This is just, we just don't need to be fast. It's kind of neat when we get a splice it or whatever, but it's just not, it just does not seem like the way to win. It took them forever to kill us that game, which would actually make the Shrine pretty good. I'll cut a Gut Shot. Even though Gut Shot does have a little bit of value against them. We'll give this a shot. I mean, I don't know. That game was pretty close despite, honestly, I think a lot of things not going our way. That game was pretty close. They got 3 cards off Dark Confidant and took 2 damage off of it, which I think is running above expectations. I don't know by how much. Maybe it's not, but and then we weren't able to find a burn spell at the end to give ourselves a chance to win. Which, to be fair, we don't exactly have a ton. I mean, we have the 7 1-mana spells that actually cost 1 mana, and not Fiery Temper or something like that. Well, I'm going to mulligan this. It's basically mulligan anyways with the double Reveler. I got to keep this hand. It's not very exciting. That last hand looked a lot better. Cards like Mana... It doesn't seem like much, but cards like Manamorphose and Risk Factor is just a nice card. All right, so Arclight Phoenix is on top. This doesn't really do anything. I think I'm going to bottom it. Excuse me. Obviously, nothing wrong with Arclight Phoenix, and I like him, but this deck, I don't know if it's enough to say it mulligans well or poorly. I think it probably has some hands that look great on 6 and some that don't look very good. I mean, this hand we have here, to be honest, is just not going to do much with 6 mana, or on 6 cards. Oh my gosh, well that... Just kidding, that might change things. Now, our opponent is playing Jund. I mean, they almost certainly have some combination of Assassin Trophy, Abrupt Decay, Maelstrom Pulse. So, Shrine of Burning Rage is not the haymaker it is against other decks. That said, there are a number of limited answers to it in their deck, and they have to find it. They've got the Dark Confidant, huh? Okay. I am tempted to let them have the Dark Confidant, I won't lie. And it's just so much more mana efficient for us to just Molten Rain them here. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Molten Rain the Black Source. I think this line has merit. I think letting them take 3, a couple hits off the Confidant. I mean, we're just never... Apparently, we're just never going to catch a break with their Dark Confidants. But I think that, especially given that our spell on that turn was a land destruction spell to set them back, that the idea of trading a card for them for the damage has a lot more merit. One, when we are setting them back a turn, right, with that. But also our hand is just kind of bad. We need some help, right? We're not... Shrine of Burning Rage has the potential to go the distance, and our opponent taking a couple points of damage off their Dark Confidant would go a long way to making that a reality. Risk factor is pretty good, too. So now we're faced with that choice again. I mean, do I just bolt it and then risk factor them and just count on our Shrine of Burning Rage to win the game? Or do I just continue to play fast and loose here with this Dark Confidant and see what happens? We're putting so many baskets, so many eggs into our Shrine of Burning Rage basket here that it's hard to say for sure. I think that I'm going... the fact of the matter is I have 7 points of burn in my hand. Or more if they give us cards, right? So I actually think I'm going to let them have this Dark Confidant. I mean, I'm playing a dangerous game here. I recognize that. But I think maybe it's worth the risk. Look at that. A Tarmogoyf. Finally something more than a 0 or 1. They take 2. So it just gets very awkward for them. They're having to play all their lands tapped here. This is just not even a realistic clock. They've got a 2/3 Goyf. I mean, I'm going to make that a little bigger, but that's okay. All right, take the 2. And I would just risk factor our opponent and see what they choose to do about it. I love that they finally seem to have made a quote-unquote Punisher card viable. And that's what Browbeat was sort of the go-to one before. But... if they take the 4 damage, it's not, 3 mana for 4 damage is already a good rate. Okay, so that's step 1, the first thing you need to know. That's already reasonable. They gave us the cards. That's so nice. 2 is that it often represents 8 damage for 6 mana, but more importantly, 8 damage from 1 card, or a lot more, obviously, when when it looks like this. So our opponent's just dead. Like, they're just dead here. So we get a Lightning Bolt to 9. We get a Lightning Bolt them to 6. We get to fire the Shrine of Burning Rage off at them, and we get a win. Pretty good. Just like we drew it up, as a matter of fact. I don't know if the Dark Confidant play made any difference at all, to be honest, but we got there. We took a game off Jund, if nothing else. Now they're definitely going to have answers to Shrine of Burning Rage. That said, I still think I want it. I still like gut shots, especially on the play, or on the draw, rather. I like Molten Rain less on the draw. Gives us a shot. I mean, the Shrine of Burning Rage, if they answer it with Trophy, I guess we get a little bit of value off of that. But if they answer it with something else, then I suppose that's fine too. They spent an Abrupt Decay or whatever on it and let us try to set up for some of our value out of our graveyard. This is a very interesting deck we're playing. Even though we win in the way a burn deck does, we throw lightning bolts at our opponent until they lose, the way that we get there is just so different. We have a late game that a burn deck doesn't. A burn deck gets to turn 5, and if the opponent isn't dead, you're just crossing your fingers and hoping that your top decks are good. We get to turn 5 if the opponent's not dead. I mean, we're doing the same thing in a sense, but maybe we're not. Maybe we're flashing back Risk Factor. Maybe we're flashing back Faithless Looting. Maybe we're setting up a line to get Arclight Phoenix back, right? Maybe we also can just draw Bedlam Revelers and refill our hand. It's a quote-unquote burn deck that has a late game, too. And while obviously you've seen in these matches some of our games, we've looked like a bad burn deck and played like a bad burn deck and lost because of it. But we also, the pieces are there to have a late game against a deck like Jund. I mean, I think that game 1, even though we lost, really demonstrated that if that was a burn deck and that game had progressed like that, we would not have very many chances. We were just so far behind. But with this deck, the ability to sort of do some tricky things and pull some damage out of nowhere, it can sometimes work. All right, I'm into this. This hand is really interesting, but I think it's worth. I mean, I don't think I could mulligan the hand for sure. Bedlam Reveler itself is almost never mulligan. Double Arclight Phoenix is maybe a little awkward, but maybe it'll just work. Tormenting Voice to discard 1 is a good start. We're on the draw, so we're going to have plenty of cards to work with. Let's see if our opponent has the discard or not. Because I won't lie, that's obviously the other side of this is if our opponent, we're on the draw, but we can just whiff on our draw steps, and if our opponent Inquisitions or Thoughtseizes the Tormenting Voice away from us, all of a sudden this hand looks, it looks pretty bad. It could draw a couple good cards and still work out perfectly fine and be very powerful, but the odds of just bricking go up, exponentially if our opponent has discard for this Tormenting Voice. So, and fingers crossed. I mean, they often do, and like I said, we can still win through that. So we're keeping the hand, but sometimes they don't. Right? Sometimes they just don't have it, unless they're playing Tron. Then they always have it every time. All right, our opponent tanked before keeping their 7, so I don't know if that means no lands or all lands, but I guess we're going to find out. All right, Forest Swamp into play. It's a basic swamp, huh? To play a Nihil Spellbomb when we have the Graveyard Recursion hand. It makes perfect sense. That's, I don't know. We'll see what they follow up with here. Maybe they kept a bad hand because as a Spellbomb, we just play our 3/2 hasters for 4 and get there. I mean, it can also just wait till turn 3 and discard the Fiery Tempered Tormenting Voice to get value. Depending on what our opponent does, it's a possibility. They've got the Dark Confidant, huh? Okay. Let's see if we can draw something here. It'd be really nice if we'd had a removal spell for this Dark Confidant. But we only play a billion Lightning Bolts. Why would we have one? Alright, I still just have to fire this off. Maybe it'll at least convince our opponent to pop their Spellbomb here. I don't know. This hand could have gone places. It didn't. It did not go there. If we'd had a removal spell for the Confidant, if we'd had a removal spell for Confidant, this game would have looked much differently. That Nihil Spellbomb is an interesting piece of tech. I see why they brought it in. It's just unlucky that game 2, right? Our hand last game was not a hand that necessarily was terrified of a Nihil Spellbomb, but this hand is. Our opponent free rolls off the Dark Confidant with the colors. All right, well, let's see if it's a Liliana coming out. Yeah, the thing is, it doesn't stop Bedlam Reveler, for instance. I have to fire it off preemptively to do that. Same with Arclight Phoenix, they can stop, but Bedlam Reveler, at least, they have to fire it off. So maybe we can just fill our graveyard with instants and sorceries, but the problem is there's so many things we just die to. And our opponent getting cards off Dark Confidant is one of them, pretty much. Wow, they just have nothing, huh? Abrupt Decay, maybe? Another land. Well, I guess I just have no option but this terrible option of Fiery Tempering a Dark Confidant. We're probably just getting Bloodbraid Elf next turn. But I guess after that I can play Arclight Phoenix. We're at 2 in our graveyard for this. I mean, we're kind of threatening it. That's the hard part. Wow, they're just lightning bolting us? What is that? I'll take it. Now they're... Okay. I don't know why they're lightning. They're going to surgical our fiery temper. I guess that's fine. The biggest problem is that they get to see our hand, I think. I think that's a bigger problem than anything else. But now we kind of put them to the test, I guess, on the Nihil Spellbomb here. When do they want to fire it off? Because it's pretty awkward if they want to tap out. We could punish them. I think they can... Oh, and they messed up. I've made this mistake so many times on Magic Online. When you play Surgical Extraction, you have to also click the one in the graveyard. And our opponent did not do that, which means we have another card in our graveyard for Bedlam Reveler. Now, of course, that may not matter as we get Bloodbraid Elf into Scavenging Ooze. What a blowout. This is rough. Opponent's drawn they've had some nice pieces against us. Just all sideboard hate all the time. Steamkin, okay. Oh, I don't know what gets us in the game, but Steamkin seems like it might be part of the answer. We're still nowhere near Reveler. I could play Arclight Phoenix this turn. I'm not going to. I'm going to play Steamkin. I think we are just so far behind that I think we're not even close to being favored to win this game, but we're going to give it a shot here. I mean, their life total is just so safe. We drew 6 lands. Ugh, that's rough. Our opponent bloodbraiding into Scavenging Ooze is pretty bad, too. Our graveyard has just gotten destroyed this game. Even though they actually haven't done anything to it yet. Oh my gosh, they have the bolt. Yeah, that'll do it. I think we can scoop them up here, to be honest. We're just dead in 2 turns anyways. Jund is good. I don't know if Assassin Trophies make Jund playable or not, but I do know that these Jund cards were extremely good against our deck in this game. Our hand was capable of doing some really powerful stuff. And then it didn't. We just drew lands. We just drew nothing but lands and spells that did not... We needed velocity, you know, we needed Faithless Looting, we needed Manamorphose, just something to let us into our... To start digging into our deck and unlock these cards in our hand. And instead, as you can see, as we obviously... This is a fitting way to end it here. We're going to end up with 2 Bedlam Revelers we can't play. Oh, we can play one. I take that back. I will play one before I die. Discard my hand. Alright, everybody. There you go. This deck is fun. I don't know its exact place in Modern. I do know that all 3 of these games, these matches we played have been close. We lost 2 of them, but they've been fairly close. And it's been enjoyable, that's for sure. And we beat Grixis Death Shadow. It's a Tier 1 deck. A very, very good Tier 1 deck. We almost pulled it off against the Jund as well. It was a lot of fun, everyone. Just double check I'm dead here. I can block here and take lethal. Yep, that'll do it. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'm Corbin Hostler. I'm headed to the GP and the Pro Tour in Atlanta. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to come say hi, I will be at the tournament next weekend. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a great trip, and they'll still be mining Modern on the weeks. I'll make sure to plan ahead. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'll see you next week. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the deck tech for Mining Modern's Runaway Red. That's right. I'm Corbin Hostler. This deck is sweet. It is all about Runaway Steamkin, but not just that. Arclight Phoenix as well. A lot of Guilds of Ravnica cards in this one, so let's break it down. We play 12 creatures. We play 4 Bedlam Revelers, 4 Arclight Phoenixes, 4 Runaway Steamkin. Runaway Steamkin is just an insane magic card that has been good in every format in which it's legal, which, as it turns out, is all of them. So it's just very good. So you cast a red spell, you put a counter on it, then you remove 3 counters on it, get 3 mana. So it both fuels spells and grows off of spells. It's very powerful. So we have some nice ones here. We're leaning into it, right? We have Desperate Rituals, we have Gut Shots, we've got Manamorphoses, sort of the works in terms of spells that you can cast cheaply to get value off of Runaway Steamkin. But they also work for Arclight Phoenix, which if you cast 3 or more instant or sorceries this turn, including on your turn at the beginning of combat, any spells you've cast, if you get to 3 of them, you get to return this from grave to the battlefield, and it has haste. So all those cards I just mentioned, yeah, they're pretty good at triggering Arclight Phoenix. So Runaway. Now you also see we have a discard element working in the deck because what these have in common with Arclight Phoenix and cards like Bedlam Reveler is that they work well off cards in your graveyard. For this, it's instants and sorceries, and this wants them in your hand, but this comes back to your graveyard. So when you play things like Faithless Looting and Risk Factor, which you can discard to, becomes a discard outlet, as well as a card that's fine to discard itself because you can still cast it with Jumpstart, you actually have a really nice little graveyard sub thing going in a mono red deck. And that is where Fiery Temper comes in, Tormenting Voice, another card to kind of fuel that discard. But yeah, Fiery Temper comes in. It's another Lightning Bolt if you want it to be. Risk Factor, 4 damage. This deck is this weird, crazy mix of burn, because we have burn, right? We're playing Lava Spikes, we're playing Lightning Bolts, we're playing Risk Factors, but we also have creatures, and we also have this recursive element where Arclight Phoenix can come back multiple times in some games, you know, and you start talking about Risk Factor, discarding it to a Faithless Looting, and then bringing it back later, and when your opponent's in a bad spot with it. Bedlam Reveler refilling your hand after you've dumped all these cards into your graveyard. This deck has a lot going for it, and it's a lot of fun to play. Sideboard, pretty straightforward here. We've got the some shrines, and this is probably the most important card in the sideboard. I'd almost want a third. In the slow matchups, it just wins you the game. You just slam it on turn 2, and you just sit there and wait, and your opponent has to answer it. Imagine playing this against blue-white control. They find an answer to it or they die. It's that simple. And they don't have many answers to it. Molten Rain for Tron Dragon's Call for the red decks. A Braid where you need both Artifact Destruction as well as, it's a nice flexible card in Relic Progenitus for the graveyard decks. That is the deck, everybody. Runaway Red. Playing Modern here with some Guilds of Ravnica spice. Thanks for watching.